Good morning, Stock Twits crew. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you all have had a great week so far. I know Michael Nauss has had a great week as always too.
Mhm.
It has been a hell of a August, I'll tell you. Everybody says August is so bad, but August has been pretty fruitful for me. I don't know about you, Michael Nauss, but it's been amazing price action, I think, amazing opportunities. I've traded every single day this month, which is completely unlike me. I usually do like 10 to 12 trades a
Uh-huh.
month. So taking a lot of opportunity, but yeah, I'm excited to deep dive into the combo with you and see how the week was. How have you been capitalizing?
DGen, right?
DGen,
Trading
of
every
course.
day. Crazy. I know it's been great. Like the anytime you get a pretty understandable dip like that and then just rip back to all-time highs, it becomes pretty easy for, people that are dip buyers and pullback traders and things like that. So, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it any day of the week. The question is, we were talking about this a little bit in the green room there, is that now that we're getting to a seasonally weak period, is that all she wrote? Is it all downhill from here?
Yeah, we'll see. Can't argue that things are been a little bit overdone, and you still have this divergence between our assets too. When you look at either SPY or Qs, ES and Q, you see ES yesterday taking out those all time highs again,
Hmm.
no problem, and NQ just still lagging. QQQ's lagging, so we'll see what happens there. Is this the time where NQ finally doesn't play catch up and we finally get some turnaround? I don't know, but all I do know is I'm ready for whichever way the market wants to go. If we want to get some more volatility and bring it in a bit, I'm happy to play that. What we got up here?
Well, yeah. So this is
Oh, the equal weight.
RSP, so the
Yep.
equal weight SP 500, solid breakout last week, and yeah, holding that. And I just wanted to show, right, because it is near the end of the month. It's like, look at that. Just focus on just the candle. So that's the IWM. It's the small caps candle versus the Qs, little itty bitty kind of thing, versus the IWM, just massive explosion here. So I think it's this kind of short float unwind. So, yeah, I think the Qs continue to lag here for a while as this trade unwinds. I don't think it's going to be um, forever, right? I don't foresee it being, hey, yeah, large cap tech stocks just suck now. But
No.
until this trade unwinds, I think that's probably going to be the case.
Yeah. No, fully agree. You've definitely seen the rotation into small caps, and even Dow's been getting a bigger bump up later recently. So something to watch out for there. But I'm with you. I don't think that's something that will last. It never has. So until I see different, I'm not going to think that. But obviously, a lot of people. The big thing this week was Nvidia, right? And
Hmm.
Nvidia took a nice little dip, but really not much. Just an IV crush event. Really a nothing burger. It got bought up the day after, and it didn't really affect the SPY too much, right? SPY's still hitting all time highs. The SPX, I think, we hit 6,500 yesterday. So nothing wrong with the market. You look at the past three earnings from Nvidia, and this is what we've seen. You've seen this kind of
Yeah.
IV crush price action, and again, until I'm shown different, I have to expect that the market's changed a bit with Nvidia, and it's still a big leader, I think, Michael, but it is not. It's not in its days of just exponentially going crazy on earnings anymore. I don't think.
Well, we gotta always remind ourselves what causes like big earnings shocks and earnings events. It's not like I always say it's never the company that beats or misses. It's always the analysts that beat or miss. And when the company is new or less followed, less important to really nail the earnings report, you get the analyst missing frequently and all the time. When you're this big, you're the largest company in the world by far, you're like 8% of the S&P 500, you better believe that every analyst firm's got like their top people just tracking the CEO from door to door. They know what he's had for breakfast, they know what he's had for lunch. It gets really hard to then surprise and say, "Oh yeah, look, we built this." It's kind of like with Apple. I always joke that um, you Apple has an event every year, and by the time this event's done, they already know what the phones are going to be for the the next event, because you just can't hide anything anymore when you're this big. So I think it's the same thing where these events are going to become less and less important for Nvidia when everyone knows exactly what's going to happen. What will move Nvidia will be like China news and things like that now, things that
Yeah.
happen more out of the blue, because yeah, everyone knows exactly what. Also, Nvidia reporting so late, all of Nvidia's customers reported, so it'd be very easy to go through and say, right, we know what Meta spent, we know what Microsoft spent, we know what, right, what all these data spends are, so you can just back that into, and you know what Nvidia made. So it's just very non-events. I wish I had sold options around it. I was really debating doing it, and I just
Some
chickened out,
move.
but it would have been a nice, easy couple bucks there.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just capitalize on those IV crushes. It's amazing. And again, the biggest takeaway is it doesn't make Nvidia a bad company in any way. Nvidia is still a great
No.
company. I see a lot of future growth. It's just, are we going to be growing like we did the past 2 years, especially with those earnings rips? No, it's just not the case, right? And that's okay. There's going to be other names that do the same thing, and we can capitalize on those, right? So
Mhm.
I think it is the world of trading, right? It's rotation, and again, Nvidia is a great company, but not something that I foresee doing what it did these past 2 years
Well,
again.
and when companies get this mature, right, they start turning into, I remember, and it's an old man story again, but I remember it was such a big deal when Apple started to pay dividends. That, like, that's all the street talked about for ages, because if you look before they started to pay dividends, if you go way back, right, this thing was just a ripper, and the idea was this is a growth company and it's just going to go up all the time. And then it was kind of right, I think, around in probably the 1918, around this area is where they started to pay dividends. And then they started to buy back stock. So as a company matures, it going up every day is no longer the way it returns money to shareholders. It pays a dividend, it buys back its own stocks, it does some way to return capital and investment and everything back to shareholders, and it just doesn't have to do it by going up. And it just means that, that's less fun to, not to get paid dividends and to have share buybacks or whatever. But that's what's kind of kept Apple afloat, is they're not really growing exponentially anymore, but they're just using the massive amount of cash they have. They buy back stocks, and that just kind of forces their price up over time. So their market cap's not really changing that much, but the price goes up. So, shareholders are happy.
Yeah, agreed. We also had some other earnings after the bell. Let's see. Even with Nvidia fading, earnings action stayed hot Thursday. We had Affirm up 14% after hours. They crushed Q4 estimates and guided above street for Q1 revenue. Demand for 0% APR credit appears very real. What's that chart looking like right now?
It's a pretty interesting
Oh,
breakout here, right? We're
yeah.
gapping all the way up here now.
Nice. That's all time highs, yes?
No, it
Correct?
had the
No, that
just
is
the yeah,
not.
the crazy 2021
Gotcha.
spike here, but yeah, all highs for like the last 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, solid. Yeah, I mean, a decent look. I'm obviously not looking to buy it now after after we
Yeah.
rip like this on earnings after its consolidation. But I think if you're a holder, this is doing well. A firm, not a company I love for a long term investment personally. Not something I'm buying, but always you can trade anything, right? Michael Nauss knows a lot about that. You could trade anything,
Mhm.
right? So
I got no idea what I trade.
yeah. So
None.
keep an eye on that. Maybe there's some continuation there. We had Gap report as well, down 2.78%. They beat earnings, but left. Oh, I can't see that. Ryan in the back. My bad. Thanks. I couldn't see it because he was clicking on it. But left full year guidance unchanged and forecast a 7% operating margin versus 7.4% in 2024. Investors said meh. They didn't like that, I guess. What's Gap looking like right now, Mr. Michael Nauss? I haven't looked at this stock in a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, big consolidation, huh?
Yeah. That's not in a choppy one too. And again, this is kind of the idea of, right, them paying dividends to return that money, because really, what are you going to do to double or triple the size? You're not going to grow crazy anymore. You're just kind of going to hang out. And for the people out there that are fine with holding something like this, it's great. Now, maybe if it gets above this base, something happens, but that's all the way up at like $30. So it's kind of a do nothing stock here.
Yeah, it's just dead to me. I it's got to do something really special to get me excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, something always keep an eye on these things. Sentinel One reported. I heard a lot more people talking about Sentinel One yesterday than I usually do. Up 2.68% after hours. Sentinel One rose post earnings with 22% revenue growth in cybersecurity. So that's really good. Where's that at? $19, $3 pop.
Yeah.
Eh, it's
Just
still in this
another.
range, really.
Yeah, and
Hasn't
I
changed anything
like
for me.
these low bases, right? I've been
Hmm.
kind of screaming about this for a while, but it's got to be in the high end of that range in order to be interesting. And companies that have just kind of fall, like this went from $78 to 12. It looks interesting if it can recover, but it has to first do that recovery, and it's just not doing that right now. It's just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, and you'll notice when you look at these ranges, it starts out really big, and as you can see, it's starting to get smaller and smaller and smaller. I just think let this range tighten up as much as it wants to until we actually get some momentum moving. But
Hmm.
we also have Marvell report down 12% after hours.
Oof.
They posted a profit, but Q3 guidance disappointed. Revenue outlook range missed estimates. That guidance will get you. You could have great numbers, but you guide down and can be not good for the stock. So down to $65 there. That's a little over a $10 drop. It's not too bad though, given the
No,
range.
I just wonder if this ends up being a just a
Yeah.
full kind of bear flag look, and then we just consolidate or just push lower.
Hmm.
It's you know it's really hard in the semiconductor space because if Nvidia, the best guy out there, the one who is the only one anyone cares about when it comes to AI, if they're not crushing new highs, what do you think you're going to do as a kind of smaller type, semiconductor space? So I don't know. It just more of the idea of buying best of breed, right? And if you just imagine if you were trying to just buy Intel this whole time as opposed to buying Nvidia. So I always just like to go to best of breed, and I think they were just kind of showing that with Marvell here.
Yeah. I'll see what it wants to do. Maybe we sweep those range lows and try and get some recovery, or just drift it sideways to the slightly to the downside there. We'll see. Dell down after hours posted a modest beat, but Q3 earnings guidance fell short of analyst expectations there. So kind of what you were talking about with the analyst
Seeing a little bit of a
expectations.
theme here, eh? Like
Yeah.
all these AI related or AI adjacent names are gapping down after earnings. So it's not what you want to see for kind of that general theme that's been holding up specifically the cues for so long. You're not getting that, which is hilarious because you can see it right here is the pre-market action. We got the cues down 0.5%, then we have IWM up. So just again, more of that rotation continues to be, and the more these guys disappoint, the more that it makes sense that this could continue.
Yeah. Another ticker that is a little bit newer on the radar that I know a lot of people have been watching. They just reported
The
their
bull.
second earnings last night. Yeah, ticker Bull. What did they report? Webull trended after reporting 15.9 billion in customer assets, 64% year over year climb. That's pretty big for Webull there. Doesn't look like we moved too much though, huh?
Well, so this is I always say, well, if you're looking at Webull, the first thing you do is just cut that part out of the chart because this was just
Yeah,
this was dumb, right? And same with was it
fake.
Newsmax? There was a whole bunch of IPOs around that time that just went ridiculous. So this made no sense. But if you cut that out, then this is probably normal price action, which still looks pretty good. It's kind of basing up here near highs. I barely a gap up at this point. Yeah, 1.6% higher is barely anything for something that moves this much. I don't know. I like the chart, right? Especially when you don't look at that craziness. So I don't think it's going back to 80. But if this coil, this tightening pattern resolves higher, it could be a little bit of a shot. And then maybe this high, you see $18 here twice. Maybe you shoot and see if you can get through $18 and get to maybe 20 or 30. I just really think, you know, this anchoring point that a lot of people are going to have in their head is going to be a problem for a long time. They're
Yeah,
going to look at that and say, "Oh, I'm going to buy it here and I'm going to hold it till it goes back to 80." It's like, no, no. It goes to 25, 30. I think that would be an amazing trade for something like this.
yeah. It may go back to 80, but Might take 10 years, you know. So
Yeah.
we've seen plenty of those stocks in the past. I mean, how many
Well,
times have you guys heard us where we're like, oh, if you bought this stock 10 years ago, you'd be in the same spot right now.
well, and it's funny if you go all the way back on Hood, it
Yeah,
did the
Hood had to
same
take time. It
that
didn't
same
happen
kind of
right away.
lunacy, right? So it went from
Yeah.
35 to 80, so more than Weeble, but yeah, you just had to sit through all this, and then eventually, right, you get back up there. It's just what's 5, 6 years later, and that's going to be the one that does that. And there's going to be 10 or so that don't. So for me, I would just rather wait for these low bases if you're going to buy things like that.
Yeah.
Which,
Well,
yeah,
and just something, keep that chart up for a second,
yeah,
Michael Nauss. Something to keep in mind is all the way at the left, before that like real low has been hit, that's basically where we are right now in bull, all the way to the
hmm
left. So
yeah,
that's where it's like, okay, time to wait. Yeah, we're like
yeah, like
in
right
that
there.
period, kind of getting ready to potentially cruise it to the downside. You know what I mean? Now, do I know that? No, of course not. But that's the way I look at this, right? If I'm
Yeah.
kind of trying to compare them, I'm like, okay, well, of course, every situation is unique. Every company is unique. It's not going to be the exact same.
I
But
just think
if we're gonna go,
you always gotta ask why a company IPOs, right? And a
yep,
company IPOs for two reasons. One, they want access to these capital markets to raise money off the back of shareholders by issuing more shares because they believe they can grow if they sell more shares to the company. Or two, there's exit liquidity for early investors. Those are really the only two reasons to go public. And that, in my opinion, those two reasons are the reasons that 80+% of all IPOs undercut their IPO price because the people who own the company, if you were an early investor in Webull, you're probably sitting on millions and millions of dollars you can do absolutely nothing with until the company goes public. And then you have to sell that to make that money. The question you always got to ask yourself is the demand of not retail, but the institutions on Wall Street going to be enough to offset people exiting early? And do you think that they need to raise money off the back of you, right? Because that's something that, again, you use a, a lot of the reason that they go public is because they need access to capital markets because they believe if they sell shares to you and you buy them, then they can use those and advertise and do whatever to grow. And I just don't ever want to be part of that where they're the one the one guy you don't want to be the seller is the company because they can sell an unlimited amount of shares. Just
yep,
ask AMC shareholders, right?
exactly. Yep, something to keep an eye on there. Macro news that we had coming through: EU and the U.S. trade talks show rare progress. The European Commission announced plans to eliminate tariffs on U.S. industrial goods to coax the U.S. into lifting levies on EU cars. Most U.S. industrial exports are already tariff free, so this move mostly clears a path for car brands like Fiat and BMW to stay affordable for American buyers. So yeah, some good stuff in the auto industry there for the Europeans. Um, I don't know if you're looking at any of those much,
No, not
Michael
really.
Nouse. It's not
It's
really your style, it seems
we,
like. Yeah.
well, we had this flash in the pan in which just trying to find the actual ETF. I have it here where a lot of these ETFs kind of outperformed pretty dramatically. Oh, there's Canada. Shout out Canada. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
That
EWG.
background, by the way, everybody, is 100% real that Michael Nouse has behind him.
That's that's my woods. I'm out
It's my
there.
woods.
But yeah, you had a little flash in the pan where it made sense to invest outside of the US, but we just rotate it right back to it. So I'm not really too concerned with kind of that's why I brought up Euro USD because I thought it'd be interesting to see if the currencies are reacting to that, and they're just absolutely not.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Obviously, we recapped Nvidia earnings, but
Mhm.
just to touch on a little bit more, the stock fell after earnings as analysts flagged soft data center guidance and continued China-related risks. CoreWeave still surged 6% after Nvidia's CFO hyped up the GB300 chip's 10 times performance jump in its upcoming launch. We had some economic data coming out yesterday. It was GDP surprise, Fed plus Fed shakeup. It revised to 3.3% from 3%. Growth came from consumer spending and net exports as companies slashed imports. We got PCE this morning as well. to watch out for. I think it already came
I
out.
thought was that our I
Yeah, it
thought
was
that
at 8:30, I believe. And it
grab.
looks like it came in line, and I didn't see too much going on with the charts, so
Yeah, pretty
doesn't look like it
much.
affected us too much.
There it is. Yeah. It was expected to be point 0.3. The forecast was point 0.3 and it was the previous one was point 0.3. So, yeah, there was no surprises at all there, which kind of just means that everything can like let's grab and put on the extended trading hours. Yeah, so this probably was the PCE candle right here. Nothing really. In the grand scheme of the pre-market range, didn't really move that much.
Yeah, not like I'm usually used to, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I know a lot of you guys have probably seen the news and things going on with Fed's Lisa Cook. She officially sued President Trump to challenge her removal from the Fed board. The court hearing is set for today, so we'll see what goes on with that. I'm sure we'll be able to get some sort of speech on that during market hours here, but I imagine it's a little crazy and probably don't want to be trading during those times. You got any thoughts on that, Michael?
I don't know who any of these people are. It doesn't.
I
My
barely
robot
do.
will take trades, but yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I'm with you. In the grand scheme of things, does any of this stuff really matter, especially if you're just day trading and like swing trading? Not really, right? And I think even if you're investing, this has no impact on the long term side
So
of things at
yeah,
all.
does
But
this Fed person actually make any decision? Because doesn't at the end of the day, it's really just JPOW and everyone else is just kind of like
yes,
giving input, and
everybody
he's the only one
else
that makes a
is
decision,
giving speculation and doesn't really have the last say except for Pal does, right? So I'm with you. It doesn't really matter.
right? So I don't know.
But it does bring some intraday volatility, right? You see it when these Fed speakers start speaking and
Yeah,
shit will go haywire. And that's where it's just something to be aware of if you are day trading and just keep an eye out, right?
because
Sometimes you can get a little crazy with
trying
the
to
volatility.
there's like
What's that?
a Fed cheat sheet or something. I think there's a website and it will tell you which ones are like voting and non-voting members and things like this. And yeah,
Yes.
I just don't. I am very happy that my trading style doesn't need me to know any of this stuff
Agreed.
because I absolutely don't. But yes, you're right. If there's any, the Fed is obviously very important. So any conflict with the most powerful guy in the world and the Fed is going to create volatility in the market. Just like when we saw Trump and Elon going at each other, you've got the richest guy in the world versus the most powerful. That's going to create some turmoil and some conflict. So it's good to
Oh yeah.
you don't need to predict what's going to happen, but just it's good to have in the back of your mind that if you see any crazy spikes or drops out of the blue, it's probably due to this hearing going on.
Well, yeah, and if you know, if you look at the calendar and you know, oh, Trump's speaking with this person at this time and it's going to be high impact,
Yeah.
you probably, hey, maybe I don't take a position going into this new hour, right? And save
Hmm.
myself a little bit of money. But yeah, great stuff there. We can move on to some pops and drops we had. Snowflake up 20%, big beat on
Oh,
EPS and
I saw
revenue.
that.
Enterprise demand soared. The chart was looking great the last time I saw it. It's snowing, Michael Nauss. It's snowing. It's a white Christmas.
Yeah.
Well,
And
not
this
yet,
is
but
one of these charts that I've been talking about where this thing was just kind of left for dead. Now this is an insane range. It's 100% range back and forth like this, but it was just dropped off here and said this company just sucks and it's going to be here forever. And then nice gap up and a potential continuation above and beyond that. If we can hold for a couple days, this might be one of those low bases that have just been working so much.
yeah, I'm with you. I've liked Snowflake for a while now, and it's just continued to perform well in my opinion. And in the shorter term, of course, when you're on this bigger time frame chart, there's still a lot of work to do and a lot more potential to the upside. But I like this name. It's been well. I've had some great trades on it,
Mm.
so would love to see it continue out of this range. See if we can break over that high. I know we have tried, and we'll see if we can actually hold it and get continuation now. Right, just a break doesn't mean too much, but yeah, looking good on Snowflake. CrowdStrike also beat earnings, but got downgraded on soft full year guidance. Didn't really look at CrowdStrike much yesterday, so it looks like it's up. Oh,
Whoa,
it got that
what
big
a
bounce
candle.
yesterday before
Uh,
before earnings. Yeah, had a hell of a
it
day.
just that's you want to talk about an engulfing candle, right? Gaps way down, rips up just to close right at the high. That's a definitely an unusual candle. I don't own any of this guy anymore, but I do own a bunch of Hack and some Bug, which are just these cybersecurity ETFs. And they look great from the longer term. They're just breaking resistance, coming back, testing it. That's so far holding. Nice little bounces off. I really, really think that this is going to be one of those huge industries in the future, because we're going to build these crazy AIs that can do everything. And then we're going to need to figure out a way um, to figure out something, right? We need to, like, who's an actual human, who's not. Like, these things are going to be better at hacking and phishing and all of these things. So, whichever of those, it's like, who's going to police the thing that Nvidia is creating. So I like these ETFs for that, and you'd hope that CrowdStrike's going to be one of the leaders in this. You'd imagine that they have top men going, okay, what are we going to do when quantum AI and crazy stuff like that is hacking our bank accounts? So you'd hope there's like a benefit of these guys. And then also kind of military, I look at them as well, is we're seeing a lot with the recent wars that are happening now, and there's not people on the ground really going after each other as much as there's a lot of drone warfare and things like that. So yeah, this is a really, really interesting sector to me. And the fact that it's all-time highs means I'm probably not alone. So this isn't a unique thought that I'm having. The rest of the investment community is agreeing.
Yeah, and which, by the way, the fact that we're just like flying drones around with little guns and bombs on them is freaking crazy, dude. We're in a crazy time now, and that that is something I do not want to be running around with. That's crazy stuff. What else we
Mhm.
got? What else we got moving, Michael Nauss? HP up 4%. Q3 revenue beat, sent shares higher. I haven't looked at HP in forever.
Which one? Sorry,
HP.
H H HP or HPQ. It's because HP, I think, is an oil stock, and then HPQ
Is the
is
actual our actual ticker.
the Hewlett Packard.
There we go.
I don't know. Oh no, yeah, that
Yeah,
must have been this one had earnings. Yeah. So this one, that's
didn't move
another
much.
weird candle. These are some
Yeah,
weird after earnings kind of candles that are happening. So gaps up, comes in, fills the gap entirely, and then closes right where it's opened. That's some wild action.
yeah. I don't see anything there. If a stock's acting like that around earnings, I don't know. Give it some time. It's already been shot. That's why I don't understand is like if we were already like moving crazy, momentum
Hmm.
trending, then that move would make a little more sense. We haven't been doing anything here though, and it can't even
Yeah.
break out on any earnings volatility. So I don't know. I just think that's it's a
Well, and if
tough
you
one.
zoom out, all right, these are the ones that have not gotten the AI trade lift, because I think they still just make printers and things. I don't know what else HP actually does. I think maybe some laptops, but more of like office equipment and stuff like that. Whereas if we look at Dell, right? Yes, Dell still has like consumer electronics, but they got a lot of the AI push because
Hmm.
they've been doing data centers and things like that. So it's very much there's a split in the tech world. Either you got on board with AI early enough and you're doing great, or you didn't and you're kind of screwed at this point. You're a little
Yeah.
too behind. Speaking of screwed, I see what we're talking about next. Intel.
Oh yeah. I mean, we've talked about it plenty before, right? They did confirm $5.7 billion in CHIPS Act funding hit its bank account Wednesday. So some good news there. But again, look at the stock, right? I love the base. Me and Michael have talked about it. Looks great. Can we actually get moving out of it, right? Can we go from that distribution to the downside on the left, like you see, to accumulation and then maybe get some distribution back up, right? That's what we're looking for here. But until we're really over that $30, filling that gap to the left, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, right? So I just think we have
Yeah.
to wait till this whole range is broken out of. Michael, I don't know if you have any other thoughts.
And no, again, then that's my trade. I'm setting it up kind of as we speak, right? And the idea is that a 1 day close over kind of, I don't know, 26, 26.50. I'm interested. And then, right, a stop halfway in the middle of that range. see what happens. So I want to do it, but I've been wanting to do it since all the way back here, and I just haven't been able to do it because you're right. That's why you wait for confirmation of the break, because you're still going to be wrong half the time on a
Mhm.
confirmed breakout, but you can increase your win rates from near nothing to a little bit better if you just wait a bit.
Exactly. Let's see, we got another. Oh my gosh, this name was up so much. EchoStar up 76%, boosted by $23 billion in spectrum license buy from AT&T. What?
Sats. This is one of those
Sats.
satellite space dudes like ASTS, Rocket Lab, one of these guys, I
Wild.
think.
I don't know if I've heard of this one at all till now. But I mean,
No, yeah.
huge pump there. I mean, that's what happens when you get some not earnings, when you get some news like that with spectrum license buy from AT&T. That's a big deal. So I mean, no
Well, and
real
it's such
surprise there.
a hot sector too, right?
Yeah.
This whole, satellite telecommunications things, right? With ASTS. Oh, UFO, right, is the ETF, and that's
Hmm.
made a new high recently. That's a new all-time high.
Look
So
at that.
this, for those
Wow,
who
we
don't
were
know,
talking about that not too long ago too. That thing's
yeah,
killing it.
wicked. Hey, good, great name for the ticker. Just
Hmm.
right off the
Oh,
bat, right? Whatever you
perfect.
guys paid for that was amazing. But yeah, this has your Rocket Lab, ASTS, anything space and satellite kind of thing related is just packaged up in here.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love the name. That works perfect. Eli Lilly up 5%. Weight loss drug success keeps piling on. So they're just seeing continued success there on Eli Lilly.
Mhm.
We filled that gap, it looks like, just barely, almost.
Yeah, and I think I think I own some of this. That's the amount of stocks you look at in any given day. I have to check my portfolio like a few times a day because I can't remember. But if I don't, I definitely want to. If we can hold this for a period of time, because I just love that this was a very clean major resistance point, and we just broke it, and now we're right back up through it. Yeah, to me, that's something I want to get involved in because it just means that I can very confidently put a stop somewhere in this area and see if this thing drifts all the way back up. It feels like it wants to hit 1,000
Well,
at
look at the
some point.
structure, right? That's my whole thing is when you look at the structure, for me, and like when I see reversals, like look at Weeble, right? And then compare that Weeble chart getting sold off to like something like this.
Hmm.
And of course, they're two completely different companies, but that's what I need to see more of. And of course, every situation is unique, but I need to see some more selling like that to be really thinking, oh, this name is going to reverse to the downside, right? But then you look at Eli Lilly, and it's just that healthy consolidation to the right until we lose
Yep.
that structure. Yes, it is downside, right? There's no argument there. It has been downside, but look at how long it took us to get all the way to where we are now to the downside. Um, all that time, right to the side, where before that we were just flying to the upside. And so I don't know. I like the structure. I think none of this looks extremely bearish, especially like the higher time frame you go. It just looks better and better. And so we'll see if it wants to continue. I like it for another
Hmm.
leg up. It just might be a matter of time, right? So we'll see there. Another name, the last name we got that's had a big pop, Neo, up 10%. JP Morgan upgrade to overwhite drives optimism. I haven't looked another name I haven't looked at in a while, but wow, doing really
It's
good this
been
past
been moving
month.
nice. Big pop, nice consolidation up here on Neo. Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, that thing can. Let me bring it up on mine too. But
And what FXI? I know China's been doing pretty good
Baba's been
here.
looking interesting as well. Still,
Yeah, sitting right at highs. So a lot of these, you'll notice these China names will move together like this, right? Because there has to be some investor confidence in kind of China as a whole in order to get involved in even these individual names. Because something like you think about it, Baba, eh, as a large institution, which would you be more uh, less worried about going to zero overnight the way was it DD and there was a bunch of these there was this whole like fight that China had where they said we are um not letting what EDU I want to say yeah EDU right here. So this is where they're like yeah we're not we're not letting you guys sell services to America anymore. And the thing just went from a
Oh,
$200 stock to $9 overnight. So everybody's terrified about stuff like this when they invest in China. So the question is, if something like BABA can't really get off the mat just yet, but although it's looking like it's going to, are large institutions going to get into Neo? Now, for me, is not a large institution. I like it above this base, but it's just the kind of thing that you have to pay a little bit of attention to and say, yeah, there's everyone's worried that they're going to come along, especially with all the trade tensions going on, that there's going to be some sort of retaliatory move where they're like, yeah, we're not going to let you be profitable. Because I remember it was, what was it, DD? Yeah, now it's OTC. I wonder, does this have all the, yeah, funny enough. So it was, I think, yeah, right here it IPO'd at 20, and Kramer famously came out and said, buy as much as you possibly can. And then it was a week or two later, the Chinese government was like, "Yeah, we're just not going to let you be listed on a US exchange anymore," and it just tanked.
oh,
Then
that's
they ended
rough.
up reversing that, but now they're over the counter traded. So it was a pure like war on China and China listed securities, where they just would not, they just went against them. You can see them across the board tank, and then only names like Baba and everything held up because they're just so big that, like, not even really the Chinese government could shut it down overnight. It would just impact their people too much. So yeah, just be careful out there, especially with the smaller Chinese names. One of the reasons why I like to stick to the ETFs so much.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. We also had critical metals up 9%, locked in 10-year rare earth deal. Retail sentiment jumped 824% there. The Gemini app surges. XRP MasterCard launch sends it up the finance app rankings there. So a lot of you guys have probably seen the Gemini Bitcoin card. Now it looks like they're doing this XRP MasterCard launch as well. So pretty
Wow.
cool there. XRP. You got any XRP, Michael?
I got a little bit. I bought a
Yeah.
little bit on this breakout, and I bought some, what, XLM. I don't even know what this thing is, but it did have the same move
Hmm.
where you can just see I have this all drawn up when it was pounding off supports and then coming back through here at 1229. That's a shot I took on them there. Not nearly as much as I own in the one true king,
The
the
one
fart
true
coin.
king.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for this to resolve higher. It just looks so nice. It's taking its sweet time, but I still think we hit 420 at some point.
Right.
That's where my sell
That's
order is for.
it should not look that good. It
It's
just
like
shouldn't.
destined. It's destined. And
Shouldn't
for
look
me, it's
that good.
still the best potential risk on, risk off indicator that there is, where you have, yeah, you just have this as uh, a beacon of, yes, we need to focus on this as that risk offer. If Farcoin's worth $800 million, I don't think anyone's worried about their jobs going away, right?
Exactly.
That's just
Yeah.
my.
Simple way to think about it, and I think a very effective way to think about it because I mean, and it's worked. I mean, all this time that you've said this, look at what Fartcoin's done. It's just consolidated sideways, held up really well. So I'm with you. I'm in the same thought process.
Yeah,
Um,
it just has to. Again, I don't think it's um I don't think I'm alone in thinking this either. There's sometimes
no,
where sometimes you think you're like you figured something out that no one else has, but I don't think this is one of those moments. I think this is just kind of, it makes sense that if you're looking at the most speculative assets in the world, if they're holding up, then people aren't really hunting for jobs as much as they potentially were before, right?
you know what's funny? I think more of the average person that doesn't know anything about investing will think like this, and the people that are us almost think about it too much and deep dive too much into it. I feel like the average person will think the same way and is just sitting here going, if people are buying fart coin, we got to be good like that.
Hmm.
And I don't. I feel like
Most of
us
us are.
us finance guys, we get a little too into it, and we're like, oh, it's not about fart coin. Well, maybe it is, man. Maybe it is because it's continuing to show risk on. So maybe it is about Parkland, right? So I don't
Well,
know. I think the average person actually has like a little bit of an edge over a lot of us guys that are a little too deep into things.
Well, and you better believe that there's no shot that any institutions are in this. Could you imagine you're a big
No
stuffy
chance.
Wall Street hedge fund dude and you have to go to your client and explain why like a percentage of their liquid net worth to like some billionaire about why they're yes, we put $2 million of your family's money in something called Fartcoin. So you know that this
Fired.
is just retail. It has to just be retail. And the reason that that's so interesting is that it is going to show you that retail animal spirits is that in if they're buying this, then they're kind of excited about they have, their Robinhood app open, they're making money that they can pile into something that's really dumb and makes no sense and has absolutely no reason to exist. Whereas if they're worried about, they lose their jobs, things like that, you would hope that the first thing to go is the fart coin, and then after that they start to do whatever. But it for me, it's worked well. My theory is so I'm in from like 56 cents. I think is my
That's
average,
awesome.
somewhere
Nice.
around here, and obviously rode all the way up to 160 and down now to 80. But I'm just looking at this saying if it's holding this low of like 20 cents, then the economy is probably fine. That's don't have to get fancier than that. Just stay real simple about it.
Yeah.
I did notice the market open, so let's just take a quick look at.
Yeah. Let's take a
I
peek.
only noticed because my bot bought some whatever an OPAD is. And I have no idea what an OPAD is, but I now own some
OPAD,
of.
OfferPad Solutions. Let's go.
Awesome. I'm
I love
long.
it. Michael
Let's
Nauss,
to
guys,
the
he'll
moon.
trade a dog food company for all he cares. I
I,
love it.
I
It's
I have
awesome.
absolutely. I've never heard of this company before, and probably after today, I'll never hear about it again. But it was on the list of the algos that I run every night, and came to the place to say bye, and I looked down, and my robot bought it, so I own
Yep.
it. What's interesting, just looking here right away, is that we have the Qs down over 0.5%, and then we have IWM up, right? So IWM's holding up
Sweet.
where the Qs are selling off a bit. So more of this rotation. And then we have RS or S&P 500, which is very cap weighted and really focused on those big cap tech, those AI names. That's down. And then we have RSP, which is the exact same list of companies that are in the S&P 500, just weighted equally as opposed to leaning on that side of things. The
That will give you
it's
so
up.
much clarity, by the way. Just looking, taking a peek at that will give you so much clarity on things.
Yeah, because
This
you're
is
just
just a spy.
this is basically saying I don't need to look at any fancy breath indications right now to know that most stocks are probably up today, and then the really big guys are down today. So if you're looking, people who look at the cues to see whether or not it's a good day or a bad day or a positive day or a negative day, they're missing kind of the forest for the trees, which is saying it is a positive day. And right, it is a positive day for most stocks, and it is a negative day for some stocks, regardless of what the cues are doing. And that's why
Yeah.
you see, actually have this very intentionally up, just in this, all the major indices, right? SPY, so large cap, mid cap, small cap, micro cap. The Dow is your boomer stocks. The Qs, IWV is the Russell 3000, so that's 3,000 of the largest companies out there. It's like 98% of the investable universe right here. And then RSP is your equal weight. So just by glancing at this, I can say, well, are most stocks up? Are most stocks down? And what sectors, what areas are up or down? Because if it's IWM that's up, that's going to be a lot of financials, industrials, biotechs, smaller companies like that. And if the Q is the one that ripping, which is just kind of really selling here off the bat, if the Qs is the one that's absolutely ripping, then you have this um, just the large cap tech names. Like two companies can go up and the Qs can rip, and the rest of the companies can be down.
Yep. Yeah. It's something to watch out for. It's something I never did for a long time. But personally, I think just taking a look at those equal weights, especially when you maybe are looking at looking at things and don't have a ton of clarity. I mean,
Hmm.
like Michael's saying, there's just we know the S&P, QQQ, the biggest names, if they're doing good, well, that's doing good. And you don't really know what's going on internally with any of the other companies, right? When everything's equal weighted, you're not getting that extra push from just the Mag 7 because it's hot this week or just this sector. And you're able to really see what's happening. So I really like that. I think a lot of newer investors should take advantage of that. So simple. You just look at that ticker. and give you a little extra clarity on things. Um,
Hmm.
just to run through the economic data, we talked about PCE. We have Chicago PMI here coming out like right now, right this minute coming out. Michigan
Mm.
consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. Eastern, and Atlanta Fed GDP at 11:30. So just watch out for those. Maybe a little volatility. We're seeing the market kind of sell here into the open, like Michael was saying. So bringing a little volatility back. We're getting into these New York session lows from yesterday on NQ. So see if we want to get below those, maybe a little sweep of price action at these lows. Not too sure yet, but we'll take a look. And then just to throw it out there, we did have BABA earnings this morning, which I don't know how they did. We'll take a look at the chart real quick. It looks like they're doing all right, though.
Yeah, they're
Oh, yeah. Are we out of this consolidation, though, in the bigger time frame? That's what really matters. We're trying. We're not quite.
grinding,
We're
slowly
grinding.
grinding back just a bit here.
Yeah. Pretty great move. We just hit half back of this gap we're in that you can see on the daily. If you look left, that's 129.49 on BABA. So not a bad place to be. Maybe shaving off some profits if you're playing earnings or something like that. I'd like to see that full gap fill and even get over these highs that we have to the left, but got to start at the fib here and see if we see rejection, which we're kind of
Yeah,
trying to
I
see. So
really like this chart overall here on BABA for nice breakout. It seems like this 125 level has been a huge zone. So if we can get through and hold that, we did one little kind of fake out and back down here. And ever since then, it's just been chopping around, say, 125 to 130. So we're right there now. If we can break that and hold that one, then that's awesome, right?
agreed. Yeah, well, I don't know if you have any maybe any heat maps or tickers you want to run through, Michael, before we wrap things up. But if you want to leave
Uh,
anything with the crew here, talk about any setups for the Friday. I know, just real quick, personally, I'm looking for that window dressing end of the month, going into Labor Day weekend. I'm feeling a little
Yeah.
bullish end of day, especially getting this morning dip. We'll see, but those are my
Well, and that
thoughts.
was what I was going to say is the fact that the average stock, right, the IWM and the RSP, the average stock is holding up just fine.
Hmm.
If that kind of sets a mood for the day, then we can potentially, if that vibes or whatever trickle down, and the sell off in the large cap stocks don't kind of go with everything. Now we're down almost 1% on the Qs. So if this doesn't drag the whole world down and you just see RSP hang out here, actually moving up right off the open, and you see IWM just hanging out here as well, then for me that's okay. Everyone is doing okay except these big companies, and you could get that kind of late day kind of rally that you were talking about. Plus, I think I read a stat somewhere that the Friday before a long weekend is often bullish just because everyone's kind of loving life a little bit.
Yep. I mean, and just look at the past few times. It definitely has been. So yeah, we'll see how it plays. I'll be looking for that play end of day. I think it's just something that I've seen 1,000 times. And you sit at this chart all day, every day, you start to see things that happen continuously over and over. And so I'm gonna try and take advantage of that today if we get any sort of opportunity for it. But like I said at the beginning of the show, I mean, guys, it's been a great month for me. I'm very blessed to be able to trade the futures this month as well as I did. Because to be honest, going into the month, I was thinking August might be a tough one. We might be hitting some big headways, and I don't know how I'm gonna do. And we did great. So Michael,
Yeah, and
I don't know how
that's
you did. I think it was a great month for you too, which I love to
yeah.
hear. So
No,
I
this is
mean,
a good one. But I will say, we're just talking about monthlies and seasonality. Just remember that next month is generally not great. um, I can go here. I know TrendSpider has seasonality. Yes, this is the seasonality for the SPY. So this month, right, 63% chance we're higher, going back the last 27 years in the SPY. And then next month, there's only a 40%. So in more likely than not, just based on seasonal trends, that we are down in September. So just keep that in mind. And if you combine that with just the monthly chart, and right, we go out and take a look at the SPY monthly chart. That's what we are talking. We kind of open the show with. That's 4 big months kind of up in a row. So it would not surprise me for a little bit of a pullback or some sort of sideways consolidation or something like that. Which so if you had a great month this month, don't feel like you've kind of figured out the world. Just know that right, it was a good month and it's
facts.
seasonally good month. So take the long weekend and kind of reset expectations so that you're cool headed when you come back for the next one.
Agreed. Yeah, gotta stay humble. Something I used to not do. I used to get a ton of winners under my belt, and I'd get all cocky with it. And now it's like the more I win, I'm like the more I limit myself. I'm like, hey, yo, we gotta chill a little bit because I'm
Hmm.
due for something, you know. So, no, but great stuff, great convo this morning, Michael. Now it's always a pleasure talking with you on the Fridays and getting everybody ready for the end of the week here. So, make sure you guys in the audience are make well, sorry, I just freaking
I just
looking at
flashbanged you there, didn't
yeah,
I?
just looking at the market and flashbang. But no, I hope everybody enjoys the trading day and trade safe. Obviously, it's Friday. Don't go too crazy, man. It's the end of the week and there's no need to press it too hard, but we'll be looking for that window dressing. So we'll see if we get
Hmm.
it. But make sure you guys are subscribed to the Stock Twist channel, liking the show that we're doing every Friday, and of course, make sure you're tuning into to the show that Shy and Katie are doing throughout the week. Those are great shows. Michael, I know you pop on Mondays, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great
and
stuff.
go over
So if
whatever charts you guys want me to look at. We take a look at them.
yeah, well, if you guys want more Michael Nauss content, tune in on Mondays, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Enjoy the weekend, y'all. Peace out.